There are those rare moments in your life when you realize that you are witnessing something special. The kind of moments that you instantly recognize that you may never see again. And often I end up finding out the hard way that I should leave those moments to the experts. Is the dance step something I can learn?
Make like this.
Okay, make like this. But then again, you only live once.
No matter who you are, no matter what you want your life to be, you're gonna be a star.
Tomorrow's another day. Now for a beer.
Rolling like a VIP.
I'm a little scared. I'm a bunch of smelly grown men. I don't even know where to start. I think we're in trouble. That might be the best birthday present ever. Baby wipes, gold bond. If you can't figure out why, just think about it for a little bit. Previously on Nick's Wild Ride. I hunted for 9 straight days in Namibia, Africa with my friend and outfitter Jamie Trout, and a lot happened in those 9 days. We were chased down not once, but twice by rhinos, and we survived. I drove an old retired safari vehicle, called myself Minnesota Dundee, and we survived again. Oh, After hunting eland for 8 days, I finally pulled the trigger, and I missed, and that eland survived as well. I don't even know what to say. But on my 9th day of hunting on the Waterberg Plateau, I pulled the trigger again, and this eland did not survive. Every bit of this meat is going to people that need it. Now, Jamie and I have left Waterberg Plateau National Park, and we've headed west to a region called Cogland. Jamie Trout Safaris operates multiple camps throughout Namibia, and the one in this area has an old school vibe that I've fallen in love with immediately. Soon, I'll be joined here by 3 of my favorite people from back in the US, but before they arrive, Jamie takes me out for a day of hunting and tracking that started out normal and ended up as an experience I will never forget. Unbelievable. We're out here hunting Plains game, and now I'm suddenly 40 yards away from one of the coolest experiences of my life. If that doesn't make you love Africa, I don't know what will. Cogland is a territory of Namibia that sits in its upper northwest corner. It's covered in vast, rocky, and mountainous terrain that is home to almost no roads to speak of, which can make getting around, let's just say, a little difficult. Cogland was originally established in the era of apartheid, before Namibia was independent of South Africa, and its purpose was to be a self-governing territory for the Himba people. It's one of the least populated areas in Namibia, and often you can go a whole day of driving without seeing a single person. With that said, in a lot of areas, there are more desert elephants that live here than people. The desert elephant is slightly smaller than what you might be used to, but they're still huge, and they can amazingly go days without needing water. Also, apparently, they don't like me very much.
She's got a little bit of muslin. See that? See that?
I see it.
Yeah. That's why she's a little bit cantankerous.
Holy crap. So my most awesome nature moment just turned into one of the scariest. Now that I've lived through it and I have that tale to tell, it's pretty cool. That's something I'll be able to tell around a bar for a long time. I think I almost died, and I almost my pants. Jamie and I head back to camp so I can clean my underwear before our guests arrive. I've been in Africa nearly 2 weeks, and I'm excited to see them. I'm sure you're wondering who these important people are, so I'll introduce you to them in the order of my hugs. First out of the truck is Mindy Lindheim. Mindy is an accomplished and influential pilot who has inspired a generation of female aviators. Next is my beautiful and talented wife, Natalie, who of course gets a hug and a kiss. And the last hug goes to Kevin Lindheim, who's not only Mindy's husband, but he's also an air traffic controller in one of the busiest airspaces in the world. They're here! This is the first time in Namibia for all 3 of them. The 4th person in this group is the guy with the ponytail, who's Jamie's son Nicky Trout, who now joins our group as one of the guides. People have connected around campfires for as long as fire and people have existed. And here in Africa, the nighttime campfire is the backbone of the safari experience. And for me, tonight's campfire felt a little more special than the rest.
I was the hardest to impress, I was the naysayer. Saw my reflection in the mirror and I hated her. I was kinda messed up, but now I know I'm enough. All the voices in my head, they were screaming, never gonna make it. You're a fool for dreaming. You're not good enough. Girl, give it up. To hell with them all. I kinda almost love me, steady on my own feet, proving me wrong. I kind of almost love me, steady on my own feet, proving me wrong.
The next morning, we set out in the Land Cruisers, not only in search of hunting opportunity, but also looking for something very special that didn't involve hunting. We were in search of the Himba, who are known to be the last of the semi-nomadic tribes in Namibia. And in the early afternoon, we found what we were looking for.
So one of the most amazing things just happened. We just came across this village of Himba people, and these 5 of the coolest kids I've ever seen in my life. This is amazing, like straight out of National Geographic.
Namibia is home to many tribes of people, but the most renowned are the Himba. Identifiable by the bright red coloring of their skin and their lack of clothing, it's estimated that there are between 20 and 50,000 living in Cogland, and often they aren't exactly easy to find. Being semi-nomadic, their villages pop up and disappear often, and each Himba village is typically just one extended family. Men live with their fathers until they have an arranged marriage, and women move to the village of their husband. The Himba typically practice polygamy, with the men often having multiple wives, so families here can get quite large. Himba women do most of the heavy lifting in the village. They deliver water, they take care of children, they preserve the homes, collect firewood, they milk cows, and so much more. Men, on the other hand, they have it a little easier. They take care of the livestock and the farming and the herding, which is a whole nother conversation. All I know is that I am fascinated.
He was just telling me that the stuff that they use for their hair, like the clay, they mix like a red sand with fat from cows. And they put it in the hair and they rub it on their bodies for protection, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, now it's ready. Yeah.
Yeah, I need a lot of that. It's like the original makeup. This is it. This is where makeup came from. I'm never gonna get that off, ever.
Today in Cogland, Namibia, in southwestern Africa, we were in search of the Himba people.
Hi.
And we found them. And one thing that was obvious very quickly was that they hardly had any possessions, yet radiated happiness. One of Jamie's guides told me a little more about this specific village.
This village here, is this a permanent village?
It's not permanent village. It's for the young people and the elder having another village.
So the younger people here, the older people there.
Yes.
My dad would have loved it like that. Dad, this is your place. This is for you.
Not long after we arrived, the women of the tribe assembled to demonstrate a traditional dance for us. The hairstyle and the jewelry that each individual woman wears is a symbol of her social status and of her age. This particular dance is called the Otijunda. Traditionally, the women stand in a semicircle facing a line of men. The women clap and chant, while one of them dances in the center, with her arms raised to imitate the horns of an animal. The woman stomps her feet as though they're the hooves of that animal and struts in time with the clapping. When another dancer cuts in, she leaves the center.
Is the dance step something I can learn?
Yeah.
How do I do it?
Make like this.
Okay, make like this.
You see?
Okay. So, like that.
Okay, he can learn you.
Okay,
So that you can. Now you can wait, then he will start.
okay.
Then you look to your feet. Step one.
The one. Da-da.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking, and you're right. I need to stick to playing fiddle. Natalie, on the other hand, she looks pretty good if you ask me, and that was until we were both schooled by a toddler. Hey, at least I tried.
He just said make like this, so I made like this.
It's obvious here that you can live freely, you can express yourself without being judged by appearances, at least by our standards, and that living with very little offers you a lot. These Himba people immediately welcomed us, a bunch of strangers with open arms and a lot of smiles. And that is something we will never forget. So we brought them something to say thank you.
We brought a blue bag from SCI, from the SAI Foundation, for these kids. Drawing supplies, a whole bunch of candy, which I'm not sure if they're happy about or not. But this is a really cool thing that SCI does to bring stuff to people that need it. I gotta be honest with you, it feels really good.
Today has definitely been proof that a hunting trip, at least for me, is about so much more than just hunting. In the morning, we leave Cogland and head southeast to the legendary Etosha National Park. And it's here that we plan to spend the next few days being true tourists. And after 2 weeks of hard hunting, that's something that didn't take much convincing for me.
Now this is living life. Cold beer, good friends, and about 1,000 zebra. Cheers.
Etosha National Park is home to some of the densest populations of Namibia's indigenous animals, many of them considered endangered species, including the African bush elephant, both the white and black rhino, big cats, and countless species of plains game and birds. When Europeans first set eyes on the area in the mid-1800s, they named the area Etosha, which means Great White Place, and that might be because of the vast grasslands and salt flats that are here. By the late 1800s, the large mammal species like elephant and rhino and lion had been largely exterminated. And in response to that, in 1907, it was designated a game preserve. And today, most of the area remains that way. And it's a key factor in the fight for conservation and restoration of the populations of some of the most endangered animals in the world. I've seen wild elephants and wild rhinos firsthand, but I had to come to Etosha to see my first wild lion.
So obviously I came here to hunt, but I really secretly hope that I get to see one lion. That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. 30 yards away, drinking water, doesn't care we're here. It pays to be a tourist once in a while. That was awesome.
For the rest of that day, we drove around and all of us experienced a day at the zoo, except without the cages or the bars. The animals were as free as you and I, and the only protection we had was the vehicle we were riding in. And that includes this black rhino, which I've learned firsthand is as dangerous as can be. But as you can see, he paid us no mind and continued heading wherever it is that rhinos go. That night, we stayed in a little bungalow close to a waterhole that was very busy with elephants and rhino that, let's just say, were pretty up close and personal. But as you can see, that's just fine by me. After an incredible 5 days of basically being photographic tourists in Namibia, myself, my wife Natalie, and my friends Kevin and Mindy Lindheim head south from Etosha National Park through Namibia's capital city of Windhoek to a place called Panorama, which is the home of our guide, Jamie Trout. This huge property holds a special place in my heart because it was the first place that I ever hunted in Africa, and it's the place that I fell in love with Namibia. Now I get to share it with the people that I love, and that's made extra special by the fact that Kevin and Mindy are both going to hunt big game for the first time in their lives.
Oh, golly goodness. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, excellent.
One of the best things about being on safari in Africa is not knowing what's around the next bush. Mindy and Kevin and Natalie all take a few practice shots with my Frankie, and then we're out in search of, well, that's the cool thing about hunting here. Sometimes you don't know what you're after until you walk up on it. It's like Jamie always says, we'll take what the bush provides. And you also never know what kind of dangerous things you might cross paths with. We came across a pack of rhinos that Jamie has reintroduced to this area, and these rhinos show hunter dollars at work. We continued our hike and eventually ended up on fresh tracks of Yemsbuck, which is arguably the most Namibian of all animals. So much so, in fact, that they're depicted on the Namibian flag. And when those tracks eventually led to a mature Yemsbuck, Mindy wasted no time and makes a perfect shot. This was Mindy's first ever big game animal, and for all of us to be able to be there and share it with her is the kind of memory that'll last a lifetime. There are certain moments you're never going to forget. That is definitely one of them for me. I can only imagine how she feels. I'm finding that my favorite thing about Africa, or at least Namibia, is that there's so many different areas geographically. It reminds me of the United States. You know, I was up in Waterberg, and it's a completely different place than here. The vibe's completely different. The game are the same, but they hide in different places. But also, it's pretty cool when your family joins you and your friends. It's like a totally different vibe, you know, exhausting and intense up in Waterberg, and chill and cool and vast here. Over 2 weeks ago, I started my adventure in Namibia, Africa, and it took me 9 days of hard hunting to successfully take a mature eland. Now I'm at the signature camp of Jamie Trout Safaris, 80 miles south of Windhoek, sharing the track with my friend Kevin Lindheim. Yesterday, his wife shot her first big game animal ever. Now it's Kevin's turn to do the same. Today we're after a specific kind of animal, the blue wildebeest, which is one of the most identifiable animals in the plains. They live in large herds, and there are over 1.5 million of them in Africa. Not only are they fun to hunt, but they're incredible to eat. After a few hours of searching, we came across a herd of wildebeest. We set out on foot and began to close the distance. The blue wildebeest is definitely skittish, but when Jamie identified a mature bull and got us to just 75 yards away, Kevin did his part perfectly.
Well done.
Dude, congratulations.
Well done, man.
That's amazing. Maybe one of the things I love most about hunting with Jamie Trout and his partners at Jamie Trout Safaris is the way that they embrace new hunters like Kevin and Mindy. An African safari is the perfect experience for any first-time hunter, and that especially goes for a couple like these two. In the capable hands of somebody like Jamie, they've been shown firsthand what hunting is all about. And later tonight, that's going to include the cooking part. But since there's a few hours of daylight left, and these two are done hunting, well, now it's my turn. Just about a mile away, we come across another herd of blue wildebeest. Jamie and I snap into action, and 10 minutes later, we find ourselves just 80 yards away.
Good.
Unbelievable. So the last time I was here, Jamie and I spent 10 days hunting all these plains game, and for whatever reason, a big blue wildebeest just eluded us. We were never able to find the right one, or the stock never worked, or whatever. 5 years later, me and my buddy.
We did it, man. That's a beautiful blue. He's white, he's this much.
I love Africa. I know love is a strong word that in this case might be a little bit cliche, but what else can I say? I have had the time of my life once again here in Africa with Jamie Trout. And to take a giant wildebeest with my friends and my wife in camp, well, that puts a cherry on top of it all. Being on safari in Africa makes you appreciate the simple things in life. So tonight we celebrate. We toast to good times and to great friends.
Cheers.
We eat fresh wild game, hot off the grill, taken by myself and two first-time hunters. We laugh, we tell stories, and then we end it exactly how it began, as all good African safaris end, around a campfire. Early in the morning in them speakers in my truck. Been that way since the day I first cranked it up. Zebco fishing hole right around dusk. Night crawlers crawling in a styrofoam cup. I'm a simple man, simple life. All I want is what I like. Fried bologna, mustard only in a brown paper sack. Beer cold, coffee black.